What?
Bang! Yeah, 713, don't step in this league, throwing rocks at the backboard. Living our dream, better dribble to the three, take the shot, here a cash draw. And we don't even care what you say, we ain't scared of the hate, get a win in this last board. Stand in the paint, better clear out the way, hit the court with the black force energy. Every single week on a killing spree, you kidding me? You talk about winning with the epitome, you better be talking with peace and we locking the key on them. Know that it's rocking with Ryan and Dante, the drip guy, we beyond the gossip, the topics we talk on a pop and we conquering the obstacles that we cross as a team. Shot from the seats, we the Rockets like Elon. It's the H-Town run down. Let's get started right now.
Interesting. Got a few things about that. Number one, somebody getting fired. Number two, that was fired. Not gonna lie. Number three, welcome to the special combine edition of the H-Town Rundown. This is your boy Clayton. We got Jules down beneath him, and we have the Master Jedi to our youngling, Mr. Jayson Braddock, extraordinaire. Thank you so much for doing this, sir. How's everybody doing on this fine Sunday evening?
Oh man,
Combustion.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're running the game with my team making plays. Talking 80, my G's, 100 jewels in this place. Surrounded by dogs, keep the quarterback safe. I'm the one with the plans, they gon' do what I say. The game is not over, we don't celebrate in the end zone. We don't got no time in the wait. H-Town run down, we don't premeditate. We just go and get to it, we got them on skates. If the game going to overtime, kicking the overdrive, we gon' be first at the finish line. Play looking full, but I finish mine. Can I get second? We gon' line up like it's dinner time. We put in work till we get us a ring. Super Bowl season, we running the scene. H-Town the home of the realest that breathe. Keep your face down when you talk to the king.
Oh, this is hilarious. Definitely getting fired.
Technical difficulties.
Definitely
run
getting
that,
fired.
run the Astros.
Yeah, right. Might as well do it. Whatever, man. Listen, it's the H-Town Rundown back again. It's Jules, it's Clayton, and it's again Jayson Braddock blessing us with his presence. How are you gentlemen doing on this fine Sunday evening?
Oh man, I'm doing good. I appreciate you guys having me. Fun time of year. Got the draft, NFL Combine leading into free agency next week, then the NFL draft. So no off season here.
All right,
None whatsoever.
Jules, how you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. The O line just went their little drills. I'm excited. I got a couple guys that I want to see. I have a couple guys that I can't shake in my mock drafts, but we're gonna see how they perform. We're gonna see how they measure up, and we're gonna see what they do.
So before we kind of get into our little rundown here, I'll just ask you guys kind of informally: would you guys say that this past combine this week is one of the most memorable in NFL history as of late in recent history, or am I being prisoner of the moment here?
Yeah, I think a lot of people talking about all the record breaking at each position groups. There's been some people question the turf there at Indy, if that played into a part of it. I think a big thing that's probably going on the radar is that a lot of guys are opting out. I think we had only 10 running backs run. So a lot of guys that are probably worried about what their times would be are opting out of it. I think it's a combination of a bunch of different variables.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you had a couple guys that really stand out in these drills and these couple test results, but as being the most shocking or most entertainment, I would say it was this year. I think a couple years ago when you had the Clowney, when he put on a show on his drills, you had Anthony Richardson, or he put on a show as a quarterback. Miles Garrett a couple years ago, he did some things. So I wouldn't really say this is the most explosive or surprising. They did set some records on speed, but speed don't really count when you're talking about football drills. So I don't really put a lot of stock in the 40s. I put more stock in the splits on the 40 than I do the 40 itself.
Okay. Hey, I was just asking you. Hey, it's fine. But no,
I like drills. I like drills more. I like broad jumps. Look, remember you go with Jones from Dallas a couple years ago. He jumped 14 feet, but he couldn't cover nobody. Then you had Anthony Richardson jumping 45 feet, inches in the air. But that's your quarterback, but couldn't but had no accuracy. Only had three 11 starts his whole Florida career. Those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things that people miss out on the combine when you just look at numbers and record breaking things and speed. It's to me it's more of the drills and the medicals and the questionnaires that I like to get more involved into to show who the person is to reinforce what we see on tape. So the numbers don't really get me.
Well, no, and I like that you said that basically, since you're getting ahead, cheater. Nah, basically, like what you just said, like we look at the combine as a means of reinforcing the tape, not replacing it, right? Like, and that's where a lot have gone wrong, but we're not gonna, bury the lead here. So, what inspired this whole thing, and credit to Jules, he's really, helped push this whole thing, and Jayson Braddock being here helping push it across the finish line. Again, we're just talking, it's off-season ball, it's an exciting time. But basically, the premise of, if the Texans had the draft tomorrow, let's say no trades, no free agency transitions, just straight up 4 picks in the top 70, multiple in the second round, first round, 28 overall pick, and if Roger Goodell's sitting there right now waiting for the card, how would the Texans operate? What would you want them to do? Right. So that's what leads us into what we're talking about now. And on top of that, please remember, the core still very much young. We got guys like Tank Dell coming back, now we knew that there's a need of like trenches, right? Like offensive line, defensive line. So the Texans had their needs. They got the young core, got the multiple picks early, and absolutely. And this is kind of that last year or two before it starts getting real expensive.
Correct.
So needless to say, this is arguably the most pivotal, important, impactful moment in Texans franchise history. It feels like we've said that every year for the last 3 years, but we mean it for realsies this time. Like it's this one
Not
counts
for
for
realsies. Not for realsies.
realsies.
Mm.
You definitely got young
Listen,
kids.
for realsies. But yeah, man. So no, so that's where we will lean on our master Jedi here, Mr. Braddock. So going into Indy week, right? Big week as always. As a scout, right? What do you go into? Like with all the grocery lists I just named, like what's your main focus going into a combine week normally?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're talking about on the team side of it, I think what they're looking at for most is just the meetings and medicals. Now, as far as us on the outside, when we turn onto the combine and what we're looking for, it's going to differ by position. I think a lot of it, y'all kind of touched on it. It's going to be those movement skills, like the offensive line today, how they do in those drills, how fluid are they, a little bit more stiff, how explosive are they, and that those first 10-yard splits, like Jules was talking about, cornerbacks. They were talking about one corner the other day. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah talking about it. Might have been Torino Pride ran the fastest 40 at 4.532. If I'm not mistaken, you're saying, well, I mean, you don't really see him play up to that to spin. And so I was curious because it's a guy I haven't studied yet. Like, well, let's see how he does in the drills because that's definitely an answer. And so, sure enough, when you start seeing him doing the back pedal and get ready to transition and flip around, flip his hips, there's a hitch in there and there's a glitch on that. So you can catch those little things on the drills and see that. All right, so why is this guy with 4.32 40 not able to sit there and stay in coverage in the actual game film? And so when you start seeing that hitch in are they too high in their back pedal, or is there a hitch when they flip them hips? You can start picking up on those things. And then again, like y'all were both mentioning, Clay, you talked about always going back to the film. And so this is part of the process, the combine, the pro days, all of this is part of the formula. So you've got this calculation, and you remember in school, so in college, you've got all this, and it's like this is 80% of the test. That's
Mm.
your film. The film's going to be 80% of your test. Well, all this other stuff factors into the equation, but film is king. So if there is something that you see at a pro day or the combine, a guy looks faster or slower than you thought, if his footwork's a little bit more sloppy, if it's not as fluid, then it should always not change your opinion, but send you back to the film to figure out what you may be missing.
Right.
Mm.
And like so
Mm.
for me, for example, would be Banks from Florida. Everybody was kind of wild on how fast he ran his drills. It really wasn't, and they got to his production. It was because Muscle was hurt his most of his career, college career. So they trying to figure out where he came from. He's always been that dog. He has that genetic from his grandfather Carl Bankston, the New York Giants legend, but he just couldn't stay healthy. So when people say he's jumping off the board, it's just because they don't understand that he was hurt for most of his college career at Florida and where he came from earlier.
No, it's an excellent point. You watch him, and I always look back because history repeats itself, not only in football in the draft and all of that, but just in the world in general. So you start looking at what guys do, and you try to look for that historical guy that kind of measured up and how the career played out. Well, the guy I bring up here is Chris Jones. Chris
Mm,
Jones kind of has that similar body build style of a Caleb Banks, and people are like, oh, he's not Chris Jones and all that. Well, go back and look at it because Chris Jones didn't go into the second round, pick 37. And so,
mhm.
funny enough, the Texans pick at 38. You'd love to get Caleb Banks there, but I think he's a top half of the first round guy
Mhm.
in Caleb Banks. And we'll get more into that as the show goes along.
I have a really dumb question. I just want to ask since you're here. Does hand size and arm length matter?
It does. It definitely does,
Yes.
especially at particular positions. So if you're talking about uh, offensive tackles and
Mhm.
defensive ends, you're looking for that parameter of 33 inches. Now you can go through history and see guys that have overcome that, but
Mhm.
it's definitely something that you definitely put in a note down. Again, like we said,
Mhm.
this always makes you go back to your film. So when you're watching the film, were you thinking to yourself like, hey, this guy, they keep letting him get into his body, and so now you've got the hands, the arm size that makes you say, hey, well, yeah, I had this note during film study, and now we see his arms are shorter than what I thought it would be. This could be an issue at the next level. Now, if a guy is so technique savvy and he's got 32.5-inch arms and he's not hitting that parameter, but you go back and you watch his film or you watched it before and you don't see an issue with it, there's maybe something you're saying like, hey, this is something he can overcome. Also, Seahawks, we remember a couple years ago, they like those 6'3", 6'4", bigger corners. They had bigger parameters on the arm length. They wanted those 32-inch plus arm length because you're pressing, you're closing out coverage, you're closing out windows and keeping it tight and, and letting your defense do what they need to do. Excuse me. And so different positions matter. Quarterback, you excuse me, you want to see them over 9-inch hands. So you get into weather conditions like the snow. Maybe I'm hitting a sore spot here. Might be saying too soon if I'm talking about turnovers and the weather conditions. But in all seriousness, though, so you want to see a guy that's got the bigger hands, that's not going to have the fumbles, not going to lose it in the weather conditions. And so it's just different parameters at different positions.
Well, so it's like to piggyback on Jason. What was the biggest tell of the Super Bowl this past season when it came to Seattle's pass rush and Patriots O line couldn't block?
Yeah.
It was because he had short arms
Will
as a
Campbell.
You talking
tackle,
about Will Campbell?
Will Campbell,
Yeah.
and every
Man, let that man live, bro.
yeah, and most of the scouts all said the same thing coming out. His arms were shorter than what you like because of where he's playing. Because you have these the speed rushers of them like the Miles Garrett and Will Anderson and whatever and the guys that Seattle have. When you don't have enough length, you really have to your feet work has to be perfect to be in a position. And when you really can't shove them to the side or pass your quarterback, they can beat you with when they have longer arms. So it does come to a play when you have certain positions and you would like to have your long armed old lineman play outside because of the speed and power they are going against. Now, of course, in the inside, it's all power, maybe a spin move here and there. When you come to guards and centers, you can really be better footwork and better framing and put your hands on to get these big guys. But when you got guys come off the edge in the wide nine and you got Miles Garrett doing a Euro step, you have to have some kind of leverage and foot hand placement and reach to keep them guys off your quarterbacks. Not they can always beat you up inside because you're playing more into your body and you get these edge rushers who are great inside your body. They're gonna beat you every time.
Sure, absolutely. Look, again, I'm just soaking all this in, right? I just feel, go out there and just at least pick up a clipboard and look smart. Um, but no, I mean, no, that's to y'all's point. I mean, that's why we said earlier, like pro days are helpers to confirm the film, right? Not to replace it. It's a good resource, but it's not the end all be all. Especially you're not supposed to get sold on just the raw numbers, right? Guys just bombing deep balls down the field, but they have poor footwork, poor mechanics,
You have to
poor get
represent.
off stuff like that. Like you're really looking for the mechanics, you're looking for the coachability. And Jules, you made that point, I believe, where it's like you're looking for the coachability, whether it's the Senior Bowl, whether it's combine, like you want to take that as a chance to really kind of see, okay, like if we broke you down right now to your smallest atom of a football player, what can we see, and how does that translate to possibly being in pads, being on the field, and how does that project to our franchise? So, but yeah, I mean, again, this is for all those who really they see the Indy Combine and they just say, oh wow, that guy's fast, like, but he has poor vision, right? Like we're
Right.
trying to help you understand the whys of how we get there. So the kind of the currency conversion rate, if you will, from combine results to on the field, and why some guys wash out really quickly, and why some combine sleepers end up being Hall of Famers. Like you just, anyway, but blah blah blah, words. But moving on though, right? So now we're going to shift from that to actual position group by position group for the Texans. So Jayson, we're going to come back to you, sir. We're going to get
Okay.
our money's worth, right? So I'm going to give you some names, and we're going to kind of work backwards. So I'm going to give you some names, and you just tell us, first of all, who was the biggest winner of the group, and then kind of work backwards on why, right? Like, was it their explosiveness? Was it the first step? Was it lowest pad level, like the scheme fit for D'Amico Ryans, right? Like, what are the things that really helped them stand out and win the day at their position? So starting at D tackle, right?
Okay.
Now, side note for a second, a lot of people find this to be controversial to even discuss, not in general, but it's a lot of people who like, if the Texans went D tackle, let's say with pick number 28, they lose their mind, right? Like, so we can get on all that later, but we're just going to talk about it, right? So at D tackle, names we got to focus. We got Banks, of course. We got Woods. We got McDonald. We got Hunter. We got Miller. All right. So Braddock, I'll ask you this: who won the day for their group and why?
I would say Caleb Banks. You're seeing him show up. I think it was like a 32-inch vertical. It's just a physical beast. Again, I think NFL teams also have in the back of their mind, like, listen, Chris Jones, he didn't have a great day. And I'll tie in Chris Jones' poor combine to Lee Hunter as well here in a second when we start talking about the vertical. But he checked everything you want to see as far as size, his mentality, the on-camera interviews, meaning for the media. You saw him talk about wanting to run through somebody's face. I mean, he's got that aggressiveness and everything. So I think he answered a lot of questions. Also, Peter Woods, it also has a lot to do with the other four as well. Peter Woods didn't participate in the drills. I don't think he ran either. And he came in with short arms. We were just talking about arm length. I think he came in with like 31, maybe even under 31 and a half inches, somewhere around there. Without him participating, without the arm length being where he wants to be, and he also came in sub 300 pounds, which I think surprised some people as well. Because if you go back and look at his 2024 film, he was about 20 plus pounds heavier. I would say probably played around 320 in 2024. I actually like the bigger version of him. He didn't lose a lot of movement skills, so I wouldn't panic on Peter Woods. If somebody else does, and I think that could play into the Texans' favor because this isn't a guy that should be available at 28. But I think when he goes through his pro day, dropping that weight to 298, I think a lot of that. Not only did he do it for the 2025 season, but I think he may have lost a little bit more for these drills to have the time and everything where he wants it at.
Yeah.
Caden McDonald's more of that big body plugger, so he's not going to be as fluid in these drills. He's not going to run fast or anything else. So the combine's not really set up for him to shine. Kristen Miller, he's one of those guys I think just might not have the greatest test and everything. He just shows up and gets the work done. I think that's probably the Texans' most feasible defensive tackle out of these top five that they can get probably at 38 if he's able to make it there. We can get into that a little bit later as well. The other one, Lee Hunter. A lot of people saying his stock has dropped because it was a bad vertical. He 21 and a half inches. So definitely, he's a bigger body guy. I think he's also top heavy as well. So I don't think you're going to get that type of vertical explosion and everything else, but they're talking about people dropping him. He's going to fall down the draft. That's the best thing that could happen for the Texans. If that guy shouldn't leave the first round, but if he's able to fall to 38, that's a D'Amico guy through. And I think any of these five guys make sense. Caden McDonald is not the scheme fit that the other four are. Just because D'Amico's had those run pluggers like Foley. Fedakasu, and so he could choose that type of guy, and he'd be dominant at it. But I think he wants one of those other four that would be the penetrating type. And so if we're talking about that vertical of 21 and a half inches, while it's not what you want to see, again, I told you I'd go back to Chris Jones. That bad combine he had back in the day, excuse me,
Well,
was a 24 and a half inch vertical. For Chris Jones, we're talking about one of the most dominant, physically dominant defensive tackles in the NFL, 30 million plus per year type of guy. So again, he went to his pro day and increased it to 29 and a half, but still at that combine, 24 and a half. And if you want a Texans comparison, Tim Settle's vertical was only 23 and a half. And I think Lee Hunter's better than Tim Settle, but I wouldn't get too caught up. And this is one of those things you say, y'all, it sends you back to the film. It's like, hey, let's see if this shows up in any areas, but it's not something I'm overly concerned about. But if you're a Texans fan, you're like, hopefully 31 other teams are overly concerned about it.
Sure. And Jules, before you go, I want you to get in on this, of course. I just want to kind of set the table real quick as to why. So anybody wondering as to why the Texans are looking at D tackle, look, the guys in the middle are getting older, right? Tim Settle, Mario Edwards, Sheldon Rankins, either they're getting older or they're getting out of the door, right? Like they're on 1 year deals or they're expired as of today, right? So it's a multitude of things happening, but the Texans need stability. They need somebody who can get dropped right in the middle of Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter and disrupt immediately, get in there immediately, right? Heck, I remember a couple of drafts ago, who was that? Byron Murphy, I believe, who's for the Seahawks right now. Oh my goodness, like had he failed us, like so that's the kind of thing where you're looking for a defense that's already elite. You're looking for that kind of last infinity stone or two to drop in there if you can, to make your strength just that much more, right? And what better way to do that than to get a great D tackle right in the middle, young guy who, again, like just drop him in there, see what happens. But just want to set the table. So, Jules, floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to piggyback on Jayson, and you know how I feel about D tackles. We have maybe two, three, maybe on that's signed on the roster, and so you really don't have a long term D tackle on the roster going forward. And I think I think the quarterback from Indiana, I think one of his press conference or conversations he had with the team was go ahead and get arrested, and so we can draft you at 16. I think for Lee Hunter, I think D'Amico Ryan say, hey man, don't even jump high. I want to get you at 37. So do what you got to do. It may be some self-sabotaging because if you look at Hunter's play and then you look at who was on the opposite side of him, that tells you what he could look at his defense because he actually has a pro all-star on the end of him that he may be a top 5 pick, and that's what you're looking for, production in real
David
life.
Bailey. Yeah.
David Bailey, you had to realize, so you can see how he was when you had a dominant edge, and he has two on this side. He still produced. He still is a top name. So you can take what you see on tape and you see in real life and what you have. He'll be a good spot for us.
Yeah, no, it's a great scenario what you're talking about comparing that. Texas Tech, he had David Bailey and Romelio Height as his DNs. Obviously here you come here with Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter as far as those defensive ends. And to Clay's point, I mean, Mario Edwards might be a cap casualty. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Sheldon Rankins free, you mentioned. Settle free agent, as he mentioned. Texans have said they'll let Tim Settle go out and talk to team. So, and then there's mutual interest reportedly. Rankins and the Texans coming back, but outside of that, even if you bring Sheldon Rankins back, you've got Tommy Togiai, and you've got a couple young, unproven guys.
Yeah.
But the Texans don't. They love to have that rotation, not just at D tackles, DNs as well. So you're talking about 4 guys seeing serious playing time. And right now it's just Tommy Togiai and Mario Edwards. And we talked about Edwards possibly being that cap cut.
No, and again, trying not to get too excited, but like just the thought of it, right? The beauty of having 2 elite bookend defensive, edges going on. If you drop anybody of value in the middle, they're going to eat, right? Like, imagine, if you will, for a second, what if we had like DJ Reader back? Like, rewind the clock. What if DJ Reader was just still sitting right there in the middle, and you had Will, and you had Daniil on the outside? That would be unfair. And so I think that's at the point where like the Texans want to be, where we're going to get into the offense the very next segment. But if people need to understand, if you can make your defense, which is already a superpower, like super elite, like that's like saying if you already have Superman and then you make him immune to green kryptonite, then what do you have? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, run it all day and twice on Sunday. But okay, so D tackle, that's table. Moving on to arguably the most important position, offensive line, right?
Hmm.
Specifically the interior. So Braddock, same thing. We're gonna go this time piece by piece, not O line, but we're gonna go guard. We're gonna go guard, center, and then right tackle, right? So starting at the guard position, same thing. I'm gonna give you some names. Who was the biggest winner and why? Okay. Oh, hold on. We got a question real quick. Peyton, he says, Braddock, do you think the Texans have a flawed eye for offensive line talent? We're gonna hold that one real quick. We're gonna get right into that one. I'm gonna
I'll
keep
plead
you
the
right here.
fifth.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it right there, right here. So Braddock, here you go. Now, for disclosure, my guy is pregnant. The most mock guy that I've had has been pregnant because he just keeps falling to me. So I'm gonna just grab him, right? But we got is it how you say Ioni, right? Like is
Uh,
Ioni?
Ola Babega Yowane.
You want it? See, I'm so sorry. Cultural appropriation. Sorry. There you go. So that guy, and then of course Pregnan. You got DeSantis, and you got Rutledge, who's been a fan favorite of the show. So Braddock, biggest winner. Why?
That's a good question. I think a guy that I've had, I know the national media, people here locally as well have been watching Emmanuel Pregnon for a while now, and that's been a hot name all across the whole country, just with some of the cut ups that's been shared and everything else. I think he probably comes more into play at 38 if the Texans want to go offensive guard there. I think
Mm,
most of him and Chase Basantes, who from Texas A&M, I actually have higher, and I thought
Yeah.
Basantes had. To answer your question, I thought he had an excellent combine. I mean,
Yes, indeed.
his movement skills for a guard were just fantastic, and I think that's the guy that the Texans could consider at 38. I think Emmanuel Pregnon, even though I've got him a little bit lower than that, is right on the verge. So he's definitely a guy they consider at 38, especially with the Texans wanting to be a power type team and
Hmm.
really move guys off the ball. Pregnon fits a lot of what they would like. So both of those guys you probably consider at 38. Now the guy you mentioned, Vega Ioane, this is a guy. He's the best pure guard, and what I mean by that, we're not talking about maybe Spencer Fano moving from tackle to guard, or any other transition player moving from the outside to the inside at the next level. If we're just talking about a pure guard, played guard in college, going to be guard in the pro. It's Vega Ioane.
Hmm.
But I think this is the top half of the first round type of guy. So if
mm,
the Texans are looking to go for him, I have no problem with it. Um, but I think you're going to have to move up. Probably start looking at the Jets at 16 because they have the number 2 pick. They've got the pick at 16. I think that's probably the latest you can look to move up to really be in a position to be able to select a guy like that. He had a great combine as well. Everything he's done, he just looks the part and everything else. If you don't get, if you don't move up and take Vega, I don't think 28 is where you want to go guard. There's two guys
Right.
you consider there at 38. We just talked about Bisasantes and Pregnon. Both of those guys could be in play, at 38. But you'll hear me talk about with the draft the sweet spot. And what I mean by that is where you have numerous guys with quality talent and all in a similar area that you can probably say, hey, if I want to wait on this position in the first round and come back later, does it have to be the second round? And in the second round, does it have to be 38 or 59? Can I
mm,
get that? Can I get a similar talent that might not be as good, but a serviceable, quality possible starter at 69 in the third round? Or can I even wait for a position to the fourth round at 106 and 128 for the Texans? And so, with that in mind, I look at that guard position. Several guys, I think the sweet spot is going to be that second part of the second round through the fourth round. I think you can get quality starters. Micah Morris from Georgia, that's
Yeah.
another guy who had a great combine.
mm,
And they've got some beast. I mean, I'm talking about some behemoth big men at that guard position in this draft that fit what the Texans are looking for. Guard's a position I wouldn't have a problem if they traded up, if that's the guy they're in love with in Vega. I don't mind if they go 38 with Bisasantes or Pregnon. But I think the value when you're talking about do you take this position early or you take this position, I think the value with guard is kicking that can down a little bit farther down the road to pick 59, 69, 106, or 128.
Mm-hmm. Jules, what you got, man? What's
Well, my thing is I'm a Chase guy. Me and Jason had a conversation last week. I think Chase is the second best guard in the draft altogether. And if he's there at 37, 38 when you pick, I'm unless we do something free agency. When once again we're not talking about free agency, that's the guy I'm picking. I like his whole demeanor. I liked his like we said, he's a good, very good pass rusher. I believe he can be a very good run blocker too, and that's what you're looking for as when you want to improve this team. Our biggest Achilles heels is running the ball, and you want somebody who can be nasty with it. And
Mm.
he's my guy.
And somebody that's strong in the weight room as well is something that you need when it comes to the run game. Is that you're lacking? And let me know if y'all can hear me fine.
yeah?
Yeah, we hear you as you butt in my conversation.
Yeah, I surely did because I tuned in originally at 7 o'clock and I see Rockets playing, so I'm assuming this was the Rockets podcast, but that's neither here nor there. But we can
Listen, we already
continue the
fired the
conversation.
intern. We fired that intern. He's gone
Yeah.
now.
He's
But
why he's
but
okay.
hold on,
Let's go.
but if we can kick, like Jason said, kick that guard down the road, Rutgers is not a bad spot. Maybe the top 30 round pick. I'll
Dunker,
be mad at you. Yeah,
Morris. I mean, when you once you start getting that back half of the second round all the way through that fourth round, I
yeah,
think you can get quality guards at that guard position. Tackle, and I know we're going to get to that in a second, but
hmm
I think tackle is that position. There's a reason you need to go early,
yeah.
and so I'll save that a little bit for a second when we get to tackles. Though I know you want to talk about centers before that, Clay.
No, absolutely. I mean, listen,
Real quick. Are we still talking about guards?
yeah.
Okay. Did I didn't hear the take about Pregnon, but me personally, I'm tired of seeing everybody fall in love with him, and I just don't think that he's that type of guy. I just want to hear Jason's thoughts again on Pregnon.
You, you're preaching to the choir, AD. That's I said that I view him more as a guy through that pick 40 through 60 range. I know a lot of people were putting him in the first round. Some people still put him in the first round, and it seemed like every mock coming out of Houston had him going no
Yeah.
later than 38 to the
Yeah.
Texans.
hmm
And I think at 38, it's not a tremendous reach because he is a physical guy, kind of plays to what the Texans do. But you're talking about a guy that was in college for 6 years at three different schools, so he's a bit older. I didn't see his date of birth, but I imagine he's at least 24, possibly going to be 25 going into this year. So by the time he gets to that second contract, you're talking about a guy close to 30 years old going into a second contract. Also, you have to wonder if you've been in college for 6 years at three different schools,
Yeah,
have you already reached your ceiling? And
Mm.
if not, how far are you from
Mm.
that ceiling? As opposed to a guy that you get, 2 to 3 years younger than you, that still has upside and also has those couple extra years of production you want to get from them as well too. So Pregnon's not a guy. I know a lot of people would love to have at 38. I haven't
hmm
mocked him to the Texans in any of the thousands of mocks I've done in this off season. And the reason I do a lot of mocks is I don't share most of them, but you don't want to just go solely off your opinion because
hmm
there's 32 teams. Some of them are like any other job. Some of them are really great, some are really bad at what they do, and some people are there in the middle. Everybody is, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So everybody's going to have a different grade, and that's why they say it only takes one to fall in love with somebody. So it wouldn't shock me if Pregnon goes into the top 40, especially because of how thin guard is. There's
Yeah.
probably only one guard going in the first round. So if a team there in the back part of the first round saying, no, I want a guard and I want a physical guard, then maybe Pregnon sneaks in. But to AD's point, I think he's more of a guy that I would value between the 40th and 60th pick, but I don't think he makes it there.
Mm.
yeah.
I ain't taking shots. Pregnon, you hear that, right? They don't believe in you, P. I
Hey,
got you, bro. I got.
I don't I don't I'm on the side with everybody else. I don't see the value of him being so high. What can he do the job? Oh yes, he can do the job. He's physical, but the value at I've seen some mock him at 28 to the Texans with the first
Mhm.
round pick. I was like, there's no way. Not for what his skill
Clay said
set
that
is
was
like.
me.
That was look. I was one of them. I'm fired. Then I guess I look. I'm out of a job. Um, but now look. I just think at this point now, look, you got to get it right on the offensive line, right? Broad
Mhm.
brushstroke, like specific to guard, right? Talking value. You ideally do not want another Kenyon Green situation, right? Where you
Mhm.
get a guy while missing on other guys, and you don't even have that guy. Like,
Right.
okay, so if you're gonna take a shot on the guard, right? Like, just get it right. And Braddock, to your point, it's okay to kick a guard down the street because you already technically have a guy in Titus Howard, if you will, who's super flexible. You can make a guard work and kick a guy inside or two, like, you know, get your tackles early. I don't want to get in front of everything, but but we kind of agree on that point. But Pregnon, they don't believe in you, so just put it out there. Okay, so look, we're just gonna, look, it's our show. AD, he's the head guy here, but it's our show today. We're rocking it. We can flip flop the order real quick. So we'll leave center for last. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
go to tackle. Let's strike with the honor side. Speaking about tackle, right? So the names we got and see, I'm gonna butcher these names. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Uh,
Just say Max the tackle. Just say Max the tackle.
I got you. I know that's the guy who we all waiting for, right? But he
That's
got
that 80
Fano.
weight. That's 80 weight on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you got Fano, Freeling, Lomu, Proctor, Miller, and of course Ahina Core, right? So same thing. Who won the day? Who was your star? Most disappointing? Just take it from there. So Braddock, we'll listen to you first.
Yeah. So as far as that tackle position, I think not only people say, well, it's Titus guard, Titus a right tackle. Well, one of the biggest values in Titus is his versatility, and so
Yeah,
there's a prospect I'll talk about in a second that having a guy like Titus on the team gives more versatility to that pick and to that player. Now, I think Spencer Fano, his movement skills were excellent at the combine. I mean, he looked fantastic. I'm not talking about just running straight line, 10-yard splits.
mhm.
I'm just talking about the drills and how fluid he was, typewriter type feet, just like, click, click, click. I mean, just right along the line there. But I think you do have legitimate concerns about that arm length at just over 32 inches. And so maybe he does have to move at guard. And then they also had him take some reps at center at the practice as well, too.
They
So
did.
um, Francis Marinoga, that's a guy. There's been question: is he kicking the guard, or is he a true right tackle? He has the size, he has the measurements. I'm not sure about the movement skills. It'll kind of depend on what a team needs from them, but tackle's the more valuable position, so I'm sure they'll try him there at first. After those first two, what most people have the consensus. Uh, the guy I think has the upside and is probably already showing, but he has to become stronger. Caleb Lomu. I
Hmm.
think that's a guy that could possibly be the third one off the board out of those three. Played at Utah at left tackle. He's the one that made Spencer Fano move from the left side to the right side. Neither one of those guys, Malnoga's going to be gone long before the Texans. Neither one of the Utah guys are physical guys, and I don't think either one of them fit what the Texans are looking for. So now we're getting to the sweet part for the listeners for like, well, who are those Texans guy? And the guy I've been saying is the top 25 guy since January. And I said, wait till the combine. He's going to kill the movement skills. He's going to kill the drills and everything else. Ian Achor. Max Ian Achor is a guy that he was in the third round in January. Then people dabbled, moved him up to the second round. Then they moved him up higher in the second round. And then they're talking about first round. Listen, in January, I told you, this is the top 25 guy. He might not make it to the Texans when we get to April in just over a month and a half. But I think that's the ideal guy for the Texans. The second guy, there was two guys I said at 28 that I think would be home run picks for the Texans at tackle. It would be Max and it would be Monroe Freeland. Now
Hmm.
Hmm.
Freeland he killed all the testing, he killed the timings, the vertical, everything you want him to show well. He did well at the combine today. I think if you can get Monroe Freeland or Max Ihanachor there at 28, then I think that's you go home happy at round one. I don't know if either one of those guys, by the time we get to April, you'll see them in every mock now to where you can get Max at 38.
Mm,
Maybe you get Monroe Freeland at 28, maybe a little bit later. But by the time April gets here, maybe both of those guys are gone. This isn't what you would call a great tackle class where you've got guys at the top that people are thinking might have to move the guard, but tackles are going to go. 25% of the first round is going to be offensive linemen. There's going to be at least 8 guys that go. Uh, After those two, let's bring in the guy I was talking about with Titus Howard. If both of those two guys are gone, I think Titus Howard gives the Texans the luxuries that at that point, if those two guys are gone, Max and Monroe, then you could consider Caden Proctor. Now,
Yeah.
people either love him or hate him. He might have to kick from left tackle over the right tackle. He might have to kick into guard. Well, having Titus versatility to play tackle or guard, you can bring Caden Proctor in. You know he's going to maul in the running game. Let him
mm,
use his movement skills out there. If he can't cut it, then you can kick Titus back outside and move Caden Proctor inside. So Titus, it again goes to that versatility and value that having Titus Howard on the roster gives you, especially if you consider a guy like Caden Proctor. Now,
mm,
this next guy is somebody most people are higher on than I am. I think he's more of a second round talent with a high floor that you'll see mocked to the Texans a lot. And lately, you've even seen him go higher. Had a good combine today. Blake Miller, I think
Yeah.
he'll go in the first round, but I think he's more of a top 50, maybe top 40 type guy. Played the main thing you're going to hear people talk about is how many games he started at Clemson. So he's a plug and play type guy, but I don't think his ceiling's going to be anywhere close as high as Freeland or Ihanator.
mm. Jules?
So
Oh,
I no, I'm gonna jump in while I can. I do have a question. And just for everybody, what are y'all thoughts on Nick Casario? If that's the case, as Jason was saying, that those two are probably or possibly could be going by pick 25. What's the incentive of Nick Casario trading up if he really wants those guys, especially if you're talking about maybe 5 spots or something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I've been talking about that a lot the last couple of weeks. I've been saying that I feel after the combine and the lead up to the draft that there's going to be a run on those offensive tackles because there's a huge fall off after Blake Miller. And I don't think Blake Miller's on the same level as those top guys. He's not far behind, but then after him, there's a huge fall off. So we talk about the sweet spot. The sweet spot is that first round. And this might be why the Texans may not have the luxury of going offensive tackle in the first round. And I said they might have to consider moving up to get ahead of Cleveland has going to have an entirely new offensive line. They need O line. Philly, Lane Johnson's talked about retiring at right tackle. Landon Dickerson's talked about walking away after their O line coach left. Um, you've got the Chargers. We all know about their mostly on the interior there. But I think the sweet spot as far as for Nick Casario to move up AD, you're looking at Dallas, who's got 2 first round picks, 12 and 20. So maybe after they select at 12, the high likelihood that they may be more comfortable trading back from 20 to 28. And Pittsburgh at 21. Maybe they're not comfortable taking Ty Simpson at 21, but at 28, they're saying, hey, pick up an extra pick, feel a little bit more comfortable, still get that 5th-year option. I think the Texans need to move up to 20 to 21 to get ahead of the Chargers, the Eagles, the Browns. 49ers are talking about Trent Williams might part ways. They're
Yeah.
one pick Texans. So I think jumping up to pick 20 with the Cowboys or 21 with the Steelers is where the Texans need to get to be able to secure one of those guys, either Freeland or Ihanator.
Cool. See, I'm right with you, and then also my follow up to that is when you brought up Proctor. I like the prospect of Proctor. I don't like the prospect of moving Titus Howard around. My thing is, I know Titus Howard. That's a luxury, like you said, but at this point, I feel like Titus Howard just needs to stick to one spot. And where does Titus Howard fit the Texans best at this moment in time? Does he fit them best as a tackle, or does he fit them best as a guard? And what is harder to find, like you said in this draft, is it harder to find a tackle? And if it's harder to find a tackle, and you're able to get a tackle that's worth its salt, then it would be pertinent that you move Titus Howard inside permanently,
Yeah,
Well,
or vice
one hundred
versa.
percent. No, 100%. I agree with AD. Jules, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll just chime in real quick to
It's
AD's
okay,
point.
Jason. You can cut him off all anytime you want. It's
Jules,
Yeah.
Jules, my guy. So, no, as far as that tackle position, to AD, I think you hit the nail right on the head. That first round, you're looking for a starting quality guy, and also if you go with a guy like Ihanachor, who didn't start playing football till junior college, or Freeland, who's only got really 1 year to 1+ year of starts, then you got a luxury in Houston also to bring back an insurance policy in Trent Brown. Do you want Trent Brown to start the whole year? Do you trust him to stay healthy? No, on either of that. But you've got a starting quality tackle that can step up and play in a pinch. So if Ihanachor or Freeland's not ready to go, you've got Trent Brown who can be a mass tackle, what he's been for most of his career, and you get him at a value of probably like 1 year, $4 million. So if there's some struggles there from your rookie at right tackle, you can plug Trent Brown in. If he goes down, then the rookie steps back up. And then you also have Blake Fisher as even deeper insurance. Now, that guard position, Titus Howard, I don't think he's a mauler. So people like, is he better at tackle or guard? He can get it done in pass pro in both of them. He's not a mauler, but he's not going to be a mauler at right tackle or left guard.
mhm.
That being said, to AD's point, it's going to be harder to find top end guard talent unless you trade up for Vega or
Right.
if you stay at 38 and take Bisantes or Pregnon. If not, the best path is and to get the highest talent because Ihanachor and Freeland just have insane ceilings. So I
Mhm.
think you go with that tackle. And if you have to move up to 20 or 21 to get them, or move up to 20 and 21 to get Vega, I think that's where the conversation is. And at that point, it's still the luxury of having Titus Howard because if you move up and get Vega, then Titus is staying at right tackle. But if you move up to get Freeling or Ihanachor, then Titus is going to left guard.
Yeah, and that was my point of if we just not doing any trades or anything like that, we're just gonna let the board fall where it's at. It's whoever's the best prospect at the time. If it's the best guard still sitting there, you go guard and you move ties back to right tackle. But if it's the tackles you're looking for, then you put them back inside at left guard or even right guard, depending on how you if you resign at Ingram. It's how the board falls to you. But to Jason's point, if you want to be in a position of power, you trade up to is how you can get to. That way you can decide what you want and what you want how Ty to do. If you get to 16 or 18, 19, 20, where before they start taking O linemen, besides the top two guys, that's what you do. So you are actually predicting what you're gonna go once you make that draft pick, but you have to trade up to be in that position of power.
So real quick before we move on off of this, per special request, we got another guy. This mountain of a man, Markel Bell,
Mm,
out of Miami. Jason,
project.
yeah, oh, project guy. So Braddock, you agree? Project guy, developmental.
Well, I call these type of guys mass tackles, and you heard me call Trent Brown that
Yeah.
mass tackles. They're guys. They're not going to have great footwork. They're not going to have great timing and any stuff like that. But they cover up so many flaws just with their mass, with their size, their wall. The game. It's a timing game. You've got 2.5 seconds to get to a quarterback on most
Mhm.
plays. And as far as the running game, can you move bodies? And so, yeah, to Jules's point, uh, he's a mass guy that you're going to probably be able to get on day 3, and also the Texas A&M game kid, Demetrius Crownover. Both
Hmm.
of those guys are probably round 4 later, day 3 picks. So if you don't go tackle in the first round, maybe you kick that can down the road a little bit as well. You could possibly come back with one of your 4th-round picks and take one of those mass tackles to be that next Trent Brown.
All right, good deal. And finally, to the center position, which again, we're not going to talk about free agency, but we're just going to talk about it. This will be a little bit lighter. We got a few names here. We got Lee, Heck, and Brailsford. Braddock, what are your thoughts? Who was the
All right,
best?
so So I think you said Connor Lew, Sam Hack, and Parker Brailsford.
Yep.
Parker Brailsford, you look at him on film, his movement skills is insane. I knew he would crush the combine. He did. I mean, a center shouldn't move like that. It's just a thing of beauty to watch. That being said, he's undersized, so you're probably going to see a team be more willing to take him higher than a power scheme. You'll see a zone scheme team that runs a lot of zone go with Brailsford. Same thing with the tackle Enrique Cruz Jr. Great movement skills, but he's probably more likely to go to his own scheme. Connor Lew, Sam Heck, if you want to go in that second round range, maybe they one of them lasted that 69th pick in the third round. But the guy who killed the combine, and I haven't studied his film at all. I'm interested to go back and watch at the center position, Logan Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, not only did he have a great 40 or anything else, but I mean, Logan Jones. Oh, I just saw it come up. Larry Payton. Larry's my guy, man. Larry's got an eye for talent as well. Um, yeah, Logan Jones just really crushed his combine. So I'm intrigued to actually go look at the film on him and everything as well. But similar to Brailsford, a little bit undersized. So I don't know if that's the guy that can do the power scheme. Again, I'm speaking out of turn without looking at the film and everything. But we do know who was his coach, Kirk Ferentz, who's the new tight end coach that played center for the Texans and for the Patriots, obviously, James Ferentz. So he's got his dad to lean on and all that. No one's going to know better in the NFL if Logan Jones can play center for the Texans in a power and a gap scheme than James Ferentz, with him being familiar with the IRA program, with his dad being the head coach there, and James Ferentz playing that center position himself in the NFL.
And the crazy thing about it, he's one of the few people that actually did every drill in at the combine.
Crushed it.
He ran a 4.9. His split was 1.75. 32 inches. He broad jumped 9.2. His three cone was 7.46, is really good for his movement, and his 20-yard shuttle was 4 seconds point 59.
Yeah, he crushed it. I mean, he didn't look like a center out there moving. The A&M kid, for those A&M fans that might be listening, anything, Trayzon, A&M basically had the whole line there, but Trayzon Zoom the third, man, his movement skills. I know they mentioned on the broadcast he had played some tackle there, so it makes sense. But his movement skills for a guy that's probably going to move in the center surprised me as well too.
All right. So Jason, we listed. Everybody thinks the O line is the most pressing issue that we have, not think or passionate about. If all if all positions are on the draft board right now, and we don't do free agency like we talked about, we don't do trade up at 28. Who's that one guy that you would trade at what you would draft at 28 if everybody's on the board for you?
Yeah, I haven't hid my feelings on this. I've been pretty vocal for him for about a month and a half. Feet, I'm like Rex Ryan, like with feet porn. Fast feet for a tackle for me, man. It just gets me fired up and everything else. And then when I found out his backstory and everything else, I've been buying all the stock I could on Maxi Hanachor.
Okay.
If he's there at 28, I don't even blink an eye. I'll be honest with you though, with people being all over the board with Caleb Banks and Peter Woods, it would be hard for me to pass on those two guys for what they could be at that D tackle position.
Mm-hmm.
But with how big the fall off is at tackle position, the upside, the feet, what Ihanachoa can become in the NFL. And I don't think he's as raw as I think a lot of people expect him to be more raw than what he is because he didn't start playing football till college. But man, you go watch his film, he's doing stuff now that I'm like, this dude might be able to start week one. Yeah, he's going to take some bumps just like Ursary, but I expect him to progress quickly throughout the year. Ihanachoa, if I had to pick today and bet on what the pick was, for me, it'd be Max Ihanachoa.
Okay, and of course, with Ursary being that pick that everybody fell in love with and was kind of surprised last year and how well he developed faster than even I ain't gonna lie to you, faster than I thought he would develop. There, you can see the links between him and Max.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're buying into Cole Popovich, like developing the offensive line, and we saw the growth with Ursary, and so if you're really buying into Cole Popovich, then there's really no reason you should be questioning Freeland or Ihanacho because you've got Cole Popovich here. You like what you've seen from them in small sample sizes, and you're buying that Popovich is going to be able to maximize his potential or their potential and get them to that ceiling. So again, I think there's conversations that could be had if a Caleb Banks or a Peter Woods is there.
Hmm.
They would be great to put on the interior, and you're so thin at that D tackle position with a four-man rotation being heavily involved at D tackle. Also, a guy that just really crushed the combine, everything I've been high on throughout this process. People have had him in this late second round. I'm like, this guy's not getting out the first, might not get out the top 20. The safety, Dylan Thieneman.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's a luxury pick you can't do, but I'd have such a hard time passing on Thieneman at 28. Again, there's some other safeties you can get later where that fall off at tackle so deep. And if you pass on Kalen Banks or Peter Woods, if they make it to your 28, you might still be able to circle back and get a Lee Hunter because of the vertical jump or a Kristen Miller. It seems like out of all of them, the best chance to get at 38 is Kristen Miller
Yeah.
from Georgia. And this thing I'll say about Kristen Miller, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't see the production. I don't see this. They played him out of position a lot from that zero tech to that two tech. You get put them in D'Amico's scheme with the offensive line having to worry about Will Hunter Jr. and
Hmm.
Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter coming off the edges, Togai next to him. Kristen Miller's going to eat. And I think that's the only reason because the way they played him in that scheme, it's the only reason you could possibly get him at 38, and I think that'd be a steal. So if you're looking at 28 and 38, I think ideally, unless a Lee Hunter falls, I would take at 38. I expect him to be gone before 38. I think Maxi Hanachor at 28 and Kristen Miller at 38. I think I'd go into 59 feeling pretty comfortable.
Me too. I got you.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be one of those like Jules said, a lot of options. Some faction of the fan base is going to be disappointed regardless. So you might as well take the best guy you can. If it's Max, hey, awesome. I'll be happy for you guys. They still don't believe in you, pregnant. But anyway, moving on. All right. So look,
Hold
this,
on. What you're not about to do is talk crap about Max the tackle like that and pump up Pregnon.
who talking
No,
crap?
we're not about to do that.
I'm hyping up Pregnon. I'm saying like, all right, cool.
At the expense
Pregnon.
of Max the tackle.
No, I didn't. We just spent the whole 20 minutes praising Max. Like we spent 20
Right.
minutes. Like I just said, they don't believe in you, P. That's all I said.
No Max the tackle slander on the H-Town rundown.
All
Man,
right. Let's.
listen, look, I'll be a fan. But look, it's the perfect segue though, right? Because again, what naturally leads from the offensive line conversation is right into run game, right into the backfield, right into running backs. And you can have the best running back in the game. You could have Saquon Barkley, you could have Barry Sanders. But if your line is sorry, it's sorry. But that's why it's the perfect segue. So going into that, we got four guys who we focus on, right? We got, of course, Jadarian Price, arguably the most mocked guy to the Texans. I know I've done it about 5-6 times. You got Emmett Johnson. Of course, you got new superstar Mike Washington, according to every 40-time indicator. And then, of course, you got Nick Singleton out of Penn State. So once again, Braddock, the floor is yours. Who won the day? Who's your main focus? I mean, you're looking at pass protection, you're looking at physicality, you're looking at splits, decisiveness. Who caught your eye the most and why?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, the darling of the combat at that running back position was Mike Washington Jr. I felt like they overlooked a little bit how great of a combine Jadarian Price is. I thought he looked really well. I was hoping to see Jonah Coleman there, 5'8", 220. Figure he could do a lot of that power stuff the Texans are looking for as well. Emmett Johnson, I didn't think he had a great combine. I think, I don't want to get caught up in the boosted of stock, hurt of stock, anything else. But I think if you were kind of on the fence on Emmett Johnson, I think you probably dip him a little bit here.
Yeah.
I don't think he did
I,
himself any favors.
I did.
I thought Jadarian Price, because the question was like, well, with Jamiah Love ahead of him at Notre Dame, he wasn't able really to show off his receiving ability. I thought him and a lot of the running backs really plucked the ball naturally, looked comfortable. He looked fast as well. I think this running back class was probably going to happen, and some of these guys get pushed up a little bit because it's not a great running back class. But I don't think you really, if I'm the Texans, I don't really start getting into that running back conversation until 59. And so
Mm,
whether you're a Jadarian Price, a Mike Washington Jr., or Jonah Coleman, whoever it might be, I think, again, going back to that sweet spot, I think you're talking late second round through the fourth round. That's probably your sweet spot for the running back. So you look at positions. So let's probably go a different position in the first round and early second round. If we want to consider a running back, if I'm the Texans, I'd probably start at the earliest, considering that 59, maybe at 69.
mm,
But again, I know we're not really getting into free agency, but it's going to depend with free agency coming before the draft. It's going to depend on who they sign in free agency, because they will sign a running back in free agency. It's just a matter of who it is. So is it a top tier guy like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne? Or is it like a Rico Dowdle? If it's a Rico Dowdle, maybe you go running back a little bit earlier, like at 59 or 69. If it's Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne and you're paying out those big bucks on the APY, the average per year of the contract, then you probably wait till a fourth round or something
Yeah.
like that. And then once you get in that fourth round, I like adding a home run addition like a Damon Claiborne. Think he's really gone under the radar, had a 4.37 40. You watch his film, he looks like a 4.3 guy, home run ability. So to have Woody Marks, whoever that guy is, you sign a free agency, Damon Claiborne and Jawar Jordan, I think that's a great stable of backs that blends together well with power, speed, and then that just right porridge in the middle.
mm, mm. Jules?
Well, I have not really looked into the running backs situation as far as the scouting situation. I've heard Price had a from what they saying had a decent, but I think he actually had a pretty good combine. Of course, Washington, he ran fast for a guy his size. AD said he reminds him of Derrick Henry, the way where he runs and he built. So then you kind of get excited about that. I have Singleton a couple times in my mock drafts, but that's later on in the fourth round, like Jason was saying. And this once again, Jason said this. It really goes on free agency for me, and I know this is not the kind of conversation about it, but if I had to draft somebody and it's put my head to it, I would like to see Washington. I like that bigger back with Woody, and I think that speed on top of what his big size. He's a load, and once again, it's what the coaches keep saying. We want to run the ball. We want to be a power running game. We want to control the line of scrimmage. We want to do this. You can't do that without a big back to get you those tough yards, and then he can get you tough yards and break tackles, but he also can outrun you too, and that's a real combination skill set. So he's the guy I'm looking for based on what they're trying to do and limit CJ's um, errors and throwing and responsibilities and lean on the run game because they have not done that in 2 years as lean on the run game. And with the cut of Joe Mixon, you don't have a back that can elevate this O line, regardless of the new additions or not. So you go with somebody who's that powerful, fast, and elusive.
So running back for me has been near to my heart because again, he's talking about impact and lacking. Like we have not had an impact run game, no disrespect to Mixon, but since the days of Arian Foster, let's be real. The last time the Texans dominated the NFL via the run was the days of Arian Foster. Since then, I don't know how many different leading rushers, quote unquote, we've had. I mean, we had Rex Burkhead once or twice. We had Carlos Hyde up in here. We got all these guys, no disrespect, they're pros, but I mean, like, I want the Texans to return to the point where they're at the forefront of running the football, right? Whether it's committee, whether it's a bell cow back and another guy, like, I just want them to get this right. I forgot who said it, but they made a great point. At this point, I'd rather just throw all the talent back there, just overload it, like plan for injury, right? There's no reason to get like, bro. There's no such thing as having too many running backs who can all do a good thing. Like I'm not opposed to that.
Bro,
But
we're not running wishbone, okay, sir? With
right,
five running
look,
backs in the backfield.
I'm just saying, if you're the Texans, like you're taking no chances, right? Whether it's injuries that hit you in the postseason, which that never
Right.
stops, or it's regular season or mystery foot injury or whatever the streets say that happened to Mixon. I just want as many offsetters as I can get and impact playmakers, right? Like, and look, to y'all's point, for me, it comes down to either Jadarian, which I don't know if he's going to be there, or Mike Washington, right? Like, digging into Mike Washington, talking about him a little bit more. It's not just the speed. Like I forgot the clip that I got and I posted, but it's the fact that he trucked the dude and
Right.
barely broke his acceleration. Like just walked right in, no sweat. I think Derrick Henry is a good comp for him because again, Derrick Henry does the same thing. If you can get him in the backfield, okay, fine, you got him. But the moment he breaks that first level, second level of the defense, like I hope the best trying to stop him, right? So I think if we're talking an entire shift in offensive identity from kind of fugazi, kind of finesse to run down your throat and like Marshawn Lynch said, run through your face, then I think the Washingtons of the world and the like, just like him, that's where you're going to kind of go. So, but yeah. All right. So moving on from running back.
But hold on,
Oh,
before you off that,
yeah.
remember last year we had to go to New England, we had to go to Denver, and hopefully the Texans can get the number one spot, number two spot. But just in case we don't, when you have to go to those cold towns and it's bad weather, you want
Mhm.
somebody who's powerful. You want somebody who can put their foot in dirt and make a one cut and come up. So that Washington pick, that power back pick, is something you look for because of bad weather games in January and what you're gonna face.
Yeah, man.
And no one cares about British Brooks as a running back, sir. We're not
Hey,
entertaining this
hey,
conversation,
hey,
okay?
hey, hey.
He's a specialty player, half fullback, half. If you ain't got nobody else on the roster to run a ball here or the
Hey.
touch push, but we
Look,
don't throw British conversation this
Jules,
conversation, sir.
Jules, I'm right with you between him and shout out to our boy Chris Roy and Gerard Jordan. People love the guy that seems to be counted out. They want to
Yeah,
see this guy succeed because they love the story of the guy undrafted or late round pick making his name and making an imprint in the NFL as a reliable player. Jawar Jordan and doggone what happened?
British Brooks,
Yeah, British Brooks are at yeah, are special
the team
teams
players.
players.
Hmm.
Like at the end of the day, these guys aren't or should not. If you again, you saw it at the end of the season, we were relying on them. Things were bad. Nick Chubb was hurt. Woody Marks in and out of the game every game.
Mhm.
We already had lost Joe Mixon before the season. Like we were down bad and having and forced to play them. Though that situation just because you see little glimpses of here and there, that's not something that you can rely on. There's a reason why that they weren't playing majority of the season.
Right.
So you got to move on and you got to go and get high end talent because at the end of the day, I guarantee you, if we would have had a healthy Joe Mixon, the run game would have looked completely different than what it did last year.
Yeah, and I want to attack on Rodney Bryce 764. Woody Marks earned to at least be number two. I mean, if that O line had any better push and strength in the run game, he might have had more yards because he was fighting and he closed out a lot of games for this franchise on the back end of that 11 game, 12 game win streak when they needed 3 yards to clinch the first down or 3 yards, 4 yards to get to win the game. To I mean, you got to put a little more respect on Woody Marks' effort as a run guy who wasn't supposed to be um, have that much carries going into the season. So to me, it's you either you get a high end free agent or you get a guy in a draft high. But like I said, that's not the conversation we have. We'll talk about that once we get into more roster construction next
Mhm.
week.
Sure. Absolutely. So to kind of flip it for a second, now on the other side of the ball,
Yes,
linebacker. All
that's
right.
what I'm talking about,
All
baby.
right.
Linebackers.
We got a linebacker. Here we go. So
All right,
we
next
got a
topic.
few.
Gotcha.
Yeah, damn, damn. So we got the Jules mess around draft 128. All right. So we got about 5 focus names here. All right. In order, we got Mr. CJ. CJ Allen. We got
Hmm.
Anthony Hill. We got Jake Golday, we got Josiah Trotter, and of course we got Jake Rodriguez. Braddock, who we looking at, sir? Who was the star of the show at the linebacker group?
I mean, there was a couple actually. I mean, Anthony Hill flew, Jake Golday, close to top five in all of the drills. But I'll go with Jacob Rodriguez because everybody
Hmm.
knew this was a turnover machine. His background as a quarterback, he just knows where to be and all the time. The biggest question is like, well, how fast is he? A lot of people just continue to question that. I mean, he checked every single one of those boxes, and so now you marry that up with the film, and you really like this prospect. So where you might have thought you could have got him on in the third round,
Hmm.
maybe now you're looking at the back end of the second round to a place where you're going to have to go up and get him. Now, out of this group, the guy that I've been high on the entire time, and I think he ran a 4.62, which at 6'5", 240 pounds isn't bad. I still think he plays faster than that on film, and I just imagine him in a swarm mentality on this Texans defense behind that D line. Jake Galday, I
Yeah.
just think that guy is a complete stud. And the only question I have is if he can make it to 59, because I think you do need to focus on D tackle there at 38, and I think at 28 we covered that in detail. I think you go offensive tackle there at 59. A lot of it's going to be this is kind of like a no man's land when I've been doing a lot of these different mock drafts through different
Hmm.
sites because everybody's got different rankings, but on each site once you get the 59, um, there's not really a great tier of guys that's sliding out of that top 50 or top talent that you just really like, hey, I've got to take this at 59 or can I wait to 69? That linebacker position, I think pick 59 might be that sweet spot, maybe 69 for that linebacker position. My number one target would be Jake Galday. And if you miss out on that, if you don't make it to 59, then I think Jacob Rodriguez for the Texans could be that pivot point from Jake Galday.
Hey, I watched Galladay, and I think he has talent, but the combine did kind of show that he's a little stiff, and he's when he runs kind of up, and I think he did trip one of his drills. Is that something that can be out coached, or with weight training help him be a little better fluid when you're talking about because he may replace Toto next year if Toto is a count don't get an extension this year and he's looking to be that inside guy for us. Do you think him being so stiff kind of hurts him a little bit?
Yeah, so he went through a position change as well as like we're going to
Mhm.
talk about a lot of these guys. So going through that position change, I don't think we've seen the finished product of
Okay.
them. But to have a guy 6'4", 250 that can run side to side and can cover. I
Yeah.
think Texans fans for the longest time looked at that linebacker position and just been like, why can't they just get a cornerback? A linebacker that is actually quality and coverage. Well, Jay Galday's got the speed to go sideline to sideline, the size to take on block and shed them, be able to make the tackles in the running game, and then the coverage ability to just be able to run right down the seam with guys and take away those passing lanes as well. So when I look at that and I look at this defense, I'm like, outside of D tackle, where can you really upgrade at?
Yeah.
That linebacker spot next to Aziz, and then off the obviously the strong safety position. I like what Jaden Reed showed last year, but I
Hmm.
just don't. With him getting injured on and off and not showing a big enough sample size, I don't think you have the luxury of going into the year with him written in pen. I think you've got him penciled in at that strong safety, but you're going to have to look at some safeties in this class that can compete with him as well.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was trying to get him. I was trying to get another safety too, but me and AD was talking about how this cat been hurt the whole season off and on, and when it came to playoff time, they pinned him in as a starting guy. So it kind of told me that they really like him. They like the way he practices, the way he takes coaching. He like his size. So that's why I kind of got off of safety on that situation because I think Ray really like Reed more than people think, probably more than people think would like to it. So I'm not really going safety that high yet either.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I think with that safety
Hmm.
position, the dream, if you had the luxury to go BPA, and I don't think he'll make it to 28, but Dylan Thineman.
Yeah.
If you ask me who had the best combine, it's Dylan Thineman out of
Mhm.
everybody. And I'm not talking about just the 4.35 40,
Mhm.
the way he flies around, the way he times. But when you watch his drills, a safety shouldn't be able to be that fluidity, that quick, play that low. He looked like a top-notch corner doing those DB drills, and this is a safety running 4.35. If you put him in that secondary, and this is fantasy because you have other bigger needs, so you can't
Yeah.
use your first round pick on it. But just to allow your mind to go there for a second with Stingley, Petrie, Lester, and Kalen Bullock, and you slot Thineman in there with that, those five and that secondary. I mean, that's unlike anything you've seen. Yeah, it would be insane. But I think probably more of a more realistic, especially probably if you're talking around 59 at that safety position, not to get too
Mhm.
far ahead. But the former U of H kid,
Yeah.
AJ Halsey, that
Mhm.
dude has muscles on top of muscles, and to be that rocked up from head to toe, he shouldn't move that fluid and that well. So he really surprised me with how well and how fluid he moved to just be that that yoked up. And so that's the guy that maybe at 59 you consider there as well too, to put in that at that strong safety position.
Well, the piggyback off of Jason, when you talk about this combine, just talking about combine, when the number one safety player doesn't practice, doesn't come out, doesn't run, and the only safety that runs, only safety that's a competition is Lenzo Styles, what he really gave you was his speed. um, that safety showed up when the lights were on, and he took full advantage of being the top rated safety that actually did drills, and that's what's going to get him drafted in the first round if everything goes right.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
took full advantage of being in the limelight.
And Jules, I'm glad you said taking full advantage because you know one position group that took full advantage besides running back, besides O line, tight ends. Yep, took full advantage, right? So, perfect segue to our kind of final position group study. We got, and I'm gonna throw a name in there because it's not listed here on the rundown sheet. But of course, you got Kenny Chadiq, Mr. Tiny himself, according to AD. You got Eli Stowers, right?
Yeah,
You got Mike Trigg, who I've mocked Trigg to the Texans a couple times, and I'll throw in there Max Clare from Ohio State.
yeah.
Braddock, closure, sir. Who is I can probably guess what you're gonna say, but who won the day, and who improved their stock, or what are the mechanics that you saw that stood out for whatever insert prospect here? Who you got, Braddock?
Yeah, I think as far as the tight end position, it's just normally the last couple of years, the tight end position, you've had probably about 19, 20 guys go. Just to speak the depth of quality talent at that position this year, they had 27 tight ends at the combine. So this, again, going back to talking about that sweet spot, that tight end position, I think this is definitely something you want to look at between rounds 3 and 5. So again, when you're talking about like, hey, who did you take at 28, 38, 59, 69, 106, 126? And you start going through it and like, what other positions can we wait on and find talent? I think tight end is definitely one of those positions that you look at and say, hey, we can kind of push this a little bit farther down, maybe wait to even as late as day 3 and still get a quality guy. As far as who lit up the combine, as everyone knew, Kenyon Sadiq really lit it up,
Hmm.
caught everybody's eyes
Say
and all
who?
that.
Say it again. Who?
Kenyon Sadiq, yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
lit up the
Okay.
combine, did everything
Mm, okay.
that you wanted to see and all that. That being said, um, Max Clare is a guy that's been mocked a lot in the second round. I don't think he had the day that most people were expecting out of him. Michael Trigg, you talked about, and he's got the movement skills, the size, the measurements, everything you want. But when you go and watch the film, the combat catches where there's just contact, where guys are hitting you at the time you're trying to make the catch, he's not bringing those down. And he's also got that diva quality that's usually safe for the wide
Mm,
receiver position. Like if you go back and watch LSU, what stood out to me, two talented wide receivers from LSU, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
But you watch those two guys on film. You can go watch them now at LSU. And I was scared to death about the diva quality in them because after every pass that wasn't coming their way, even more so on Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., but he was there as well. I mean, they're pouting, they're throwing the arms up, the body language. Michael Triggs got that same in his game. You go watch the Baylor tape, and when he when he's not getting the ball, he feels he's open. A lot of times he's not open. He doesn't see the coverage coming over the top and all that, but he feels he's over. His body language is poor and everything else. That combined with those close area combat catches where people are bearing down on you, hitting you at the same time you're catching the ball, he doesn't show the strong hands to pull that in. Three guys, Sam Roush, I'll throw him out there first because I know a lot of people fell in love with him at the combine. He's had a good offseason, and this lead up to the draft had a great combine as well. But two other guys that's kind of gone under the radar that I think fit with what the Texans are looking to do: Oscar Delp from Georgia and
Mhm.
Jack Injuries from Texas. Both of those guys, I think so. Again, we say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. These tight ends are going to be ranked so drastically different across all 32 boards. I'm kind of in the thinking of sit back, wait to no earlier than the third. Fourth might be the perfect middle of the swing, but maybe even the fifth round. Day three is probably where, if I'm the Texans, I'm pulling that trigger on tight end. But third round would be the earliest for me.
What about a Tanner
I hear you.
Koziel from U of H?
I mean, as far as the NFL, yes. As far as the Texans, I don't think that's what they're looking for. They're looking. Remember, James Ferentz, former center, Dad Kirk Ferentz. He's coming to that tight end group. They're going to elevate the blocking of that group all the way.
Yeah.
When you bring a
Oh,
former center
I'm
from Iowa into that group, I'm looking at in free agency Charlie Kolar as a possibility. And in this draft, there's several guys that can block well and still
so
give you some receiving. Sam Roush, Jack Injuries, and Oscar Delp. Those are three guys I
so
like as far as the
Jason,
Texans. Yeah,
you there was one guy that I didn't hear you mention, and that's Nate Brokature from Texas A&M
that's a great call.
as well.
Yeah, and that's
He's
another one I'd mention. Yeah, AD, that's a great call right there. I think you can get him a little bit later in the draft too, just because of
mhm.
some people are not looking for that wide tight end. Some people are just looking for that guy. They're not looking for that two-dimensional guy that's going to be a quality blocker. Look at the way the NFL has gone to more 12 personnel, 13 personnel. You're going to need guys that can inline block. And Cade Stover, I thought he would be
Mhm.
better at it. He hasn't proven to be that guy as an inline blocker. He hasn't proven to be the quality receiver. I thought he
Oh,
could
healthy.
turn. Yeah, are healthy. Great point there. Dalton Schultz getting older. Brevin Jordan's more of that receiving threat, and so they're going to look to add to this group with a guy that can block well and also be a factor in the passing game as well.
I'm gonna call it now. I'm gonna call my shot because I look besides running back, tight end. I'm like most excited about. No disrespect to Dalton Schultz. I believe Dalton Schultz already is like your second best tight end of all time. That's just me, just saying. Because I mean, look, it's only been about 24-year history, so
Very,
ain't
very,
much
very
going.
short list. Yeah, short
That's
list.
what I'm saying. It's like of course, OD the goat, Dalton, then what? James Casey, but I'm calling my shot now.
Hold on, now, hold on.
He's,
Pause. You're
he,
not about
ju-
to
he
sit up
jumped
here
to
and call
He
James,
jumped to James
Casey.
Casey.
Yeah,
Look,
James Casey.
but no, I think the Texans have one shock move in them, and I say that in like the most positive way. I think at the tight end position, I'm gonna call it. I think they're going to get, if he's there, give me Max Clare bars. I think either Max Clare. Now you're talking me out of Michael Trigg, so maybe not Trigg, but I think Claire. I don't want to say Stowers because that sounds like too much of a reach with where they might have to pick him at. But I think a Claire would be who I've seen because I looked at some film on Max Claire. Even though it didn't have maybe the best pro day, I liked him on film. I like his cutting. I like his movements. He kind of reminds me of who's the Green Bay tight end? I forget his name. He just got hurt.
Tucker
Kraft.
Yeah, right.
Kraft.
So something like that. Just he like rangy, long steps, good cut, catches the ball, yard to the catch threat. So I like Claire. Like he's been a coming on late kind of guy for me. So if they can get a Claire, I think they would. So I think that'll be maybe that one shock move for me. But kind of moving forward here. So off of tight ends, Braddock, we're gonna respect your time, sir. It's already been an hour and a half, but we appreciate you. We're gonna go to our final segment here. We're actually final two. We just got.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
So
That's what we
Clayton,
do.
yeah. So
Where
Clayton
Clayton
Yeah.
at?
missed out. What happened to
Hey,
you, brother?
before we close, I got one one crush that I need to have somebody talk to me out of, and that's the Hill, the linebacker. Jason, what you thought about Hill?
Go ahead.
Anthony Hill.
Anthony Hill Jr. Yeah. Hey, be respectful. Be respectful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's a speed guy, a little bit undersized as well.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people outside of Anthony Hill. I know a lot of people also like Kyle Lewis because of his coverage ability.
Hmm.
Kyle Lewis came in 6'1", 220, and so you're going to expect him to time fast. You're going to expect him to be good in coverage, but I just worry about them being that complete all around linebacker. And when I evaluate now the last couple of years, mostly I always do it with the eye to the Texans instead of where I used to do it for the, towards the entire NFL. Now I kind of look at where these guys fit for the Texans. And so for me, I like to see those bigger guys that can move, that can still help in the run game and in coverage. Where I think
Hmm.
where Anthony Hill is going to have to separate from blocks better.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's definitely a guy that can move.
Okay.
What I was gonna say before I was cut off, actually, I think Joe's did it. I was just going to say, independent of Houston, which is we all talk Houston all the time. Who was your guy that just stood out in the draft period? Independent of the Texans, like any team, any round. Who was your biggest winner from the draft? Maybe on the radar guy, a running back who looks special in drills, maybe an interview caught your attention. Who would that be?
For me, and I guess I kind of cheated early saying this, but it would
Safety.
be the safety from Oregon, Dylan Thoneman. I mean, I thought he just did the time in 4.35 safety, running like a top-notch corner in the drills. I mean, he did those on-field drills among the DB better than probably every cornerback out there. And so, yeah, for me, I think if you say, what if I go to the NFL Combine, what's the workout I want to have? It would be Dylan Thoneman. They'll be using his film next year. You know how they show past prospects that's in the NFL when they're showing the drills and how to do it
Hmm.
from previous years. When they show that DB drills, they'll be showing Dylan Thoneman next year.
Okay.
For me would be Love. I know we didn't talk about Love because we figure he's a top five, top 10 pick. I think Love really showed that he's on that top level of talent coming out of Notre Dame,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that they reported he was doing wide receiver drills after the running back drills, which showed that his dedication and him trying to
Mm-hmm.
be the best back he can on both sides, rushing and pass catching.
AD, you got anything?
If he gonna pick somebody from A&M, so he don't really count.
Yeah, I got you.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm let y'all have it. We can close it out.
I got you. Let me see. Do I have a person just independent of the Texans just shown? I think I just go Mike Washington. I just like his story about this. Just did a piece on him for Toro Times. Not trying to plug it, but I had to kind of dig on him a little bit. Especially just the outpouring of emotions, right? Like he's been to multiple colleges before this, exploded as an Arkansas Razorback. And he's not just his speed, right? Like from on-field precision, cutting, again, gritty, tough, tenacious, hard-nosed, truck sticker guy. Speed, of course. I just think Mike Washington he earned himself a lot of money here. He got himself up a lot of boards. You're going to get yourself a guy who really cares about the game. He's passionate and in a good way, right? So I'm looking forward to Mike Washington. I actually, if as well as will, I have plans to maybe try to get out there to a pro day to kind of get up close. Yeah, man, that's my guy, Mike Washington. But all right, so Braddock, last thing, we're gonna rapid fire real quick.
Okay.
We're just gonna close it out, rapid fire. Keep it tight. Let me know your thoughts. All right, if the draft was Monday, D tackle or O line first?
O-line.
All right. One player that Houston cannot pass on if given the opportunity.
Oh man. I'll keep it with where I said earlier. Ihanator.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Biggest red flag you saw.
I thought the safety that's getting a lot of plug. What's his name? The three-name safety from the small school.
Oh,
From Toledo,
yeah,
Yeah. What's his name? Emmanuel? Is it Emmanuel?
Emmanuel
Emmanuel
Sutton.
Warren.
McNeil
Sutton.
Warren. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
when you're at a smaller school, lesser competition, checking all these boxes at the combine and the circuit, all this stuff, pro day is much more important. So I felt like he really disappointed and didn't play to what I thought was on film. And we're not playing the level of competition. I think that will hurt him. I definitely think we'll see Thieneman jump him, and we might see McNeil Warren possibly slide out the first round.
Okay, that's a big one. All right, one player that Texans fans are overhyping. This sounds like an AD question, so much so.
I'll probably have the same answer as AD, so I'll go ahead and say it. Well, I'll let AD say that one. I'll go a different one. Go ahead, AD. Go ahead and drop it.
Emmanuel
Anybody from A&M?
Fregnon. Emmanuel Fregnon. Get it out of here.
Dang, man.
Anybody from A&M?
And then the other one I would say, just because I think he's probably a second round pick, he'll go in the first round, but I think he's more of a second round pick. The tackle from Clemson, Blake Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And last one sleeper in round 3.
Oh, wow.
That's hard because
Right. Oh, okay. I got 2 guys for you because I love both these guys. Way higher on each of them. Cornerback from Florida, 6'3", had groin surgery 2 months ago in December. Still ran the 40 at the combine. It's the only thing he did with the groins 2 months after groin surgery. And at 6'3", over 200 pounds, ran a 4.5 40. Devin Moore. The other one, pass rusher. Everybody talks about Keldrick Falk at Auburn, the pass rusher opposite of him. Him and Malachi Lawrence are 2 guys I like there, early 3rd round, possibly for the Texans. Kieron Crawford from Auburn.
All right.
Hey, one position that we didn't talk about, I think I was 2 positions I want to talk about, but we didn't talk about was corner. But you already mentioned somebody from corner. What is your take on the quarterback situation after the number 1 pick going forward? Who's the number 2 and 3 quarterback in your rankings?
Well, what everybody's saying, that I haven't studied them deep enough to have rankings, all that, but just from what I've seen so far, I'll say this: Ty Simpson's probably going to be that second quarterback taken. Whether he goes late first, early second, it's probably going to be the question. But the third guy after that, people are talking about Garrett Nussmeier, Carson Beck. The little bit that I peeked in on their games and everything, I just didn't see it with them. The one guy that intrigues me the most at quarterback is Drew Aller. He intrigues me so much that I don't think he makes it to the 4th. But if he did, and with the Texans having 106 and 128, I wouldn't be mad at the Texans taking him because I'm not buying Graham Mertz. Davis Mills is not going to be here forever. He's on the last year of his deal. If you can sell high on Davis Mills, go ahead and get that return this year. You invested a 3rd. Try to get a 3rd back, 5 years later or something. Save the money on the contract. Save you, sign you a little cheap vet quarterback to back up, and try to develop Drew Aller. It's the most important position in football. If you can get a guy on day 3 that I think has day 2 talent at a minimum, it's definitely something I wouldn't. But I don't think he makes it to the 4th.
Gotcha.
Oh my goodness! If that happens, here we're gonna get the anti-Stroud agenda. All they drafted is replacement. Oh my gosh!
You can't trade away.
Great note from Brandon Halliman. I saw this come up: 4'8", 540, 6'5", 315, 34-inch arms, D tackle. I know exactly what he's talking about because that was probably the biggest surprise to me of the D tackles. Played opposite of Peter Woods at Clemson, DeMonte Capehart.
Yeah.
When he ran that 4.85, that's probably was the biggest surprise of me that I didn't see coming this weekend.
What about the defense in Zion?
Zion Young, I've only looked at like 1 or 2 games of him, so I really want to go back and study. After the combine, I start kind of ranking them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I haven't been wanting to say this because I don't want it to be the only thing people remember, but just the early peek in, he gives me fears for Taco Charlton. Like just a dominant physical guy. Yeah, so you can't say that without everybody just having that stamped in their brain for the rest of the time. So I don't want to go and then watch some other film like, okay, I was a little bit too hard on him. But I do have some concerns that there's a lot of stuff that I can see, because they're now talking about him possibly getting pushed up in the first round, maybe even the
Yeah.
middle of the first round. And there was a lot of similar talk with Taco Charlton when he was coming out, just being a physical freak with that size.
Well, I will say this
No,
at the
no
end.
more, no more last ones. Cause Clayton, you and Juice had about 8 last ones. So y'all
Sir,
I
ready
you
to
ain't say
start?
nothing.
you ain't supposed to
Honestly,
be on this
I ain't
podcast
say
anyway.
nothing.
Yeah,
Hold
but
on,
I was.
calm down, calm
Oh no,
down.
hold on, hold
I'm
on,
cutting
hold
him
on.
out.
This is a
Jason,
combine.
Jason, hold on, Jason. Jules is getting out of his element because right now you're here and
Uh-huh.
he is thriving. He is up and about. Any other time, Jules will be gone, sleep, and off the podcast
Because
by now.
look, Jason,
So this is this
because
is
they be
Jules
talking
just
about
acting out of his
feelings.
element.
They be talking about feelings. They be talking about this. I want to educate. I want to talk about the
Hey,
game. This
Look,
this right
Hey,
here. This is what I
hey,
love to talk about.
all I know is if we get Drew Aller, CJ Stroud,
See, there you go. Start noise
I
again.
told you. I told
There
you.
you there you is. There you go. Once
Look,
again, clickbaits. Clickbait,
man,
Jason. Clickbait, Jason. That's why I all about clickbaits.
nice.
all I was gonna say to close out, and Braddock, again, we appreciate you. All I was gonna say is to your last point about talk about guys getting to the first round and surprises. That serves the Texans well, because you know what that means. That means somebody who we really want is gonna
Right.
drop. So with that being said, Jason, we appreciate you, sir. Really do. Thank you for your
let
expertise.
let us know where we can follow you because there's a comment you got LD at the bottom asking, he said, are you on social media? He wanted to follow you. So please let everybody know where we can find you, follow you, and support your content, man.
Yeah, I'm not a big social media guy, but I did come back. Dr. Roto, a couple other people talked me back into opening it up last year. So I did open up one. I opened up a Twitter. It's on the screen under my name. It's just my name, at Jayson Braddock with a Y on Twitter. Um, Newbies may call it X. I'm still old school, I guess. But yeah, you can check me out there. I'm putting out during the off season just some of the draft and free agency thoughts out there. So I appreciate the shout out. Thank you, LD, Larry, Brandon, all you guys for chiming in. Killer Cow. I remember him all the way back from damn near 15 years ago. Chiming in on the Dylan Gwynn, Mighty Gwynn show back at Sports Talk 790. So appreciate all the love. But yeah, I'm back on social media. I came back in September of last year, right before the football season. Started getting that itch again. And yeah, y'all got me anytime. This is a fun time of year. Love to talk free agency and the draft. Just all the possibilities of what could happen. I think it's more fun to me than the actual outcomes, because it's just you
Right.
playing with all these puzzles in your head, and then when you see it together, it's great to finally know, but there's a finality to it. So all the
Mhm.
daydreaming, like what I was talking about with Dylan Thieneman, I know the Texans aren't going to take him, even if he's there at 28. But just to think about that secondary group with Thieneman, with Petrie, Stingley, Lasser, and Bolick, I mean that's man, I'm
Mhm.
going on it again. It's the nerd in me, guys. But nah, you can't keep me too long. We're talking Texans football in the off season. Man, I can't believe free agency is just a week away. So that's
Yeah.
insane, man. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for having me.
Hey, Jason,
Absolutely.
be careful because I got your number. I'll pull that card and have you on the show next week too. Keep playing me.
Man, you can't have me talk about football too much, man. It's always fun. So anytime y'all need me, man, I'm on there.
Absolutely. All right, well, gentlemen, listen. Hope you guys have a blessed week. This is the penultimate few days up until free agency and the new league year starts. So we're gonna do it all again pretty soon. That's Jules, that's Braddock, that's AD, and it's myself. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and go Texans.
Go Texans. Not gonna go to bed.